So in this lesson, we are going to look at simplifying expressions, solving linear equations, removing brackets, and then what's called evaluating expressions. So we're going to look at each of these in turn, and these are the major kind of topics that you need to know in relation to Algebra 1. So the first thing we want to look at is simplifying expressions. So simplifying expressions, as it implies here, simplify, means to make simple. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to take this algebra expression, which is a long kind of complicated algebra expression, and boil it down into as many terms as we can. So in an algebra expression, each of these parts is called a term. Okay, so these are terms. Within the term, you have the number that's in front of the, you have first of all the variable, which is, in this case is x. You have the number in front of the variable, which is called the coefficient, which is 2. And then in this case, we have an index or a power, so we have. And basically, the rule when it comes to simplifying an algebra expression is we can only add. So we can add or we can subtract. So we can add or subtract only like terms. So what does that mean? So it basically means that if we take this first term here, okay, so we can see that this is 2x squared. So the x squared part is what you're comparing, for example, or the x part is what you're comparing with the other terms. So in order for the term to be a like term, like 2x squared, it has to have x squared within the term. So for example, 2x squared and plus 4x squared, they are like terms. If we take the next one then, so we have 5x, so we have 5x and plus 3x, they are like terms because they have the same variable, and then all we have left then is the minus 2. Okay, so there's no other terms like minus 2. So we're allowed to group together or add together like terms. So if we take the first one here, so if we take 2x squared plus 4x squared, if we add the two of these together, that's going to give us 6x squared. So 6x squared. So we're just adding these two like terms together. If we move then to the next one, so 5x, so we have plus 5x and plus 3x. So if we add the two of these together, plus 5x plus 3x, that gives me plus 8x. And then we're just left with the minus 2, and there's no other terms like minus 2, so it's just minus 2. So when we're being asked to simplify an algebra expression, we're taking something that's like this, which is quite complicated, and we're grouping the like parts together. So for example, the x squareds, we're grouping them together to give us 6x squared. The x's on their own, we're grouping them together to give us 8x. And the minus 2 then is just minus 2. So that is essentially what we mean by when we talk about simplifying expressions. So when we're adding or subtracting like terms, we're adding or subtracting the number that's in front of a variable, or what's called a coefficient. And the same rules apply in relation to adding or subtracting any integers. So that is simplifying an expression. So again, very important that you're able to do that you're able to simplify algebra expressions. So the next type of questions that you need to be able to do is this part here, which is called solving linear equations. So what we have here is a linear equation. So 3x plus 4 is equal to x plus 12. Okay, it's called a linear equation because there's no x squareds or x cubes within the equation. Now notice what we have here is we have two equations on either side of an equal sign. So we have this, let me just make this equal sign a different color. So we have this equal sign here in the middle. And essentially this equal sign, it means that the left-hand side is in balance with the right-hand side. So you can think about it like a balance, like here. Okay, so the equal sign is like a balance. Now, what you're trying to do is when it's asking you to solve, that means that you're trying to work out the value for x. So we need to work out what the value for x is. So in order to work out the value of x, we have to get x on its own. So x on its own. Okay, so that's what we're essentially trying to do. Now what we need to do is we need to, if there's an x on both sides, we need to bring all the x's to the same side. So what does that mean? So it means we want to take this x that's on the left hand side and bring it over here onto the right hand side. So in order to get rid of the x on the left hand side, so this is plus 1x. So in order to turn that to 0, I have to minus x from the left hand side. Now, just like a balance, if I was to take away x from this side, and if I wasn't to do anything on the other side, what would happen is the balance, it would tip over and it would become unbalanced. So in order to keep this equal sign here in the middle and keep this balanced, if I take away an x from the right hand side, I have to also take away an x from the left hand side. So I have to minus x from this side. So I minus x from here to get rid of it, and then I have to minus x from here. Okay, so what's going to happen now is that so I have 3x. So if I have 3x and I take away 1x, that's going to leave me with 2x. So 2x plus 4 is equal to, if I have x and I take away x, that gets rid of it, is equal to plus 12. Or is equal to just, we don't need to put the plus in front of it, we can just say it's equal to 12, like so. Okay, so now what that essentially does is it brings all the x's over to one side of the equation because we're trying to get x on its own. So the next part then is to remove the numbers around x, starting with the number furthest away. So remove numbers around x, starting with the ones furthest away. Okay, so what does that mean? So we have this, so this is the x here that we're trying to get on its own. So the numbers that we have around it, we have this 2x, which is the closest to it, and then we have this plus 4x as well. So what we want to do is we want to start trying to get rid of the 4x from around here and then get rid of the 2. Now, the way that we do this is, in order to get rid of the x's, we have to get rid of the numbers, we have to think about the operation that's at play. So this is 2x plus 4, okay, so it's being added to this term here, 2x. So we think about the operation, which is addition, and then we think about the opposite of addition, which is subtraction. And we do that in order to get rid of the 4 here. So if this is plus 4 and I want to turn this to 0, well, I have to minus 4 from it. And remember, if I take away 4 on this side, okay, of the balance, and I don't take away 4 on this side, it'll become unbalanced. So what I have to do is, if I subtract 4 from the left-hand side, I have to subtract 4 from the right-hand side as well. So again, I have to subtract 4 from this side also. So what that will do is, it will get rid of this 4, it'll cancel out. So you're going to be left then with 2x. So plus 4 minus 4 is just 0, so it cancels out, is equal to 12 minus 4, which is going to be equal to 8. Okay, so we're nearly there. So again, remember, we're essentially, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this x here on its own. So the next thing we do is we continue doing this. We start removing the numbers. So again, we move to the next number. So the next number closest to x is 2. Now, notice the way, so when I have 2x like this, so 2, let's say, so 2x, that means 2 multiplied by the value of x. So if x was equal to 1, that would mean 2 multiplied by the value of 1, which is equal to 2. So that's what that means here. So we think about, what's the operation at play? It's multiplication in this case. So what's the opposite of multiplication? It's division. So we have to do the opposite. So in order to get rid of the 2 here, basically what I'm doing is I'm dividing this side by 2. And again, if I divide one side of the equation by 2, so if I divide this side by 2, then I also have to divide this side by 2 as well, in order to keep it balanced. So I divide both sides by 2. And essentially what that will do is, so this 2 will cancel out with this 2, and then 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. So this will just leave us with x. Okay, so the 2 cancels out. X is equal to 8 divided by 2, which is equal to 4. And therefore, x then is equal to 4. So the value of x is 4. So again, that is how we solve, for example, linear equations. So we treat this equal sign like a balance. So it's like a balance basically. So this side is equal to this side. We get rid of, we're trying to get x on its own. So we bring x, if there's x's on both sides, we bring them all over to the one side. And then what we do is we remove the numbers around x, starting with the numbers furthest away. Okay, so we've got rid of the 4 first. And then we got rid of the 2. And again, how do we get rid of x's or numbers, for example, on either side of the equal sign? We look at the operation that's at play around it, and then we do the opposite of that. So that is solving linear equations. So the next thing that you need to be able to do as well within this section, so you need to be able to remove brackets. So if you have something that's like this, okay, so you have a term inside a bracket, multiplied by another term that's inside a bracket. You have to know how to get rid of the brackets and then simplify. So what this means is that it means that you're taking this first term, so you're multiplying it by this, and then you're also multiplying it by this. Okay, so that's what it means, multiplying. And it also means then that you're taking this term and multiplying it by this, and this term and multiplying it by this. Okay. Now what's important here is that you're going to be multiplying integers by each other. So you have to remember, when you multiply or divide integers, like signs give plus. So what does that mean? And unlike signs give minus. So what does that mean? So examples of this. So if I have minus 2 multiplied by minus 2, that's going to be equal to 4, or positive 4. Okay, so that's like signs. So when we talk about signs, we are talking about these guys here. Okay, so this is a negative integer, and then this is a positive integer. So these two signs are the same, they're like signs. So like signs give plus, as in the answer is positive. So minus 2x multiplied by minus 2 gives us positive 4. Like signs give plus. These two are like signs, we multiply them by each other, it gives us plus 4, or positive 4. And then the opposite of that then is unlike signs give minus. So if I have something like this, so minus 2 multiplied by 2, that's going to be equal to minus 4. So again, we're looking at the signs, so this sign here, and then when there's no like negative sign in front of the integer, that indicates that it's a positive integer. So this is positive 2. So negative 2 multiplied by positive 2, unlike signs give minus, gives us a negative answer. So that's important to remember when you're working with this kind of a question. So let's work this out then. And the other thing then as well is when we're multiplying, so let's say x multiplied by x is equal to x squared. If we have x multiplied by x cubed, or x squared, that's equal to x cubed. Okay, so that's really important as well, that you remember when you're multiplying x's by each other, or x's or y's or variables by each other. So let's work through this, and let's work this one out. So 2x multiplied by 3x gives me 6x 6x squared. So 2 by 3 gives me 6, x by x gives me x squared. 2x multiplied by minus 4 gives me minus 8x. So see the way we have unlike signs, positive 2, negative 4, therefore it's negative 8, and so it's going to be equal to minus 8x. Then we have these guys here. So minus 3 multiplied by 3x, that gives me minus 9x. And then minus 3 multiplied by minus 4, so see the way these are like signs, so therefore the answer is going to be positive. So minus 3 multiplied by minus 4 gives me positive 12. So now we have removed the brackets by multiplying these by each other. So now what we can do is we can go back to simplifying it. So again, we look at each term. So 6x, there's no other terms like 6x, so we just bring that's just going to be 6x. Then we have this guy here, so we have minus 8x minus 9x. So if we're on minus 8x and we minus 9x, that's going to leave us on minus 17x. And then we have positive 12. So remember, so when we're adding and subtracting integers, it's just like you can think about it as a number line. So if we start on negative 8 and then so imagine if we're on the negative 8 floor and then we go down negative 9 more floors, then we're going to be on negative 17, the negative 17th floor. Okay, so it's the way to think about it. So that is removing brackets. So again, this is very important. You need to know how to do this. And then the last piece in this is what's called evaluating an expression. So basically, evaluating means you are taking this and you're solving it. So normally when you're asked to evaluate an expression, they will tell you the value for x and they'll tell you the value for y. So basically all you do is you take the values, okay, so in this case the value for x is 1, the value for y is 2, and you substitute it or you put it into the equation wherever there is the variable within the equation. So again, what does that look like? So the first one's going to be 3 times, so this means 3 multiplied by the value of x, which is 1, plus 4 multiplied by the value of y, which is 2. And then this is all raised to the power of 2. Okay, so it looks something like that. So again, now we can start solving this. So 3 by 1 gives us 3 plus. Now this one you need to be careful. So if we remember the order of operations, okay, so you can think about BIMDAS. So BIMDAS. So BIMDAS, we have brackets, in the indices. Okay, so that just means powers or roots. We have multiplication. We have division. We have addition. And then we have subtraction. So this tells you like if you have a number of operations at play within an expression, it tells you what to do first and what to do last. So again, whatever's at the top, you do first. Then whatever's at the bottom, you do last. Okay, so it goes in this order. So whatever's the highest order, okay, in this case brackets is the highest order. If there's a bracket, you do that first, then indices is the next, then multiplication, then division, then addition, then subtraction. So if we have a look at this, we can see that this here, so this here is an indice, so we have to do 2 to the power of 2 first before we multiply the answer by 4. So again, what's 2 to the power of 2? That means 2 multiplied by 2, and that's going to be equal to 4. Okay, so that's going to be So it's 3 plus 4 times 2 to the power of 2 is just 4. Okay, so it looks something like that. And then we do this multiplication again. So 4 multiplied by 4, so 4 and 4 is 8, 8 and 8 is 16, so that's 16, so 3 plus 16, and that's equal to 19. Okay, so evaluating this expression, when x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 2, it evaluates to 19. So we just substituting the values into the expression. So they're the main kind of things that you need to know how to do in relation to this section in Algebra 1.